So what's wrong with this code? What's wrong with this code? Apa masalah dia ni? Semalam kau orang ada explore. Okay, so what is actually wrong with this code? Okay, anybody care to explain? What's wrong with this code? You got undefined variable text in line 6. So anybody would like to explain?
Coding tu yang variable type bawah tu kena sama dengan atas.
Okay.
Dia tak ada S. Okay, sebenarnya ya.
Okay.
Dalam ni dia
Because the spelling of the variable is TEXTS with S. So you define a variable named text with S, ended with S.
ya.
Okay. So first you declare variable name TEXTS with the value salam all. Correct? And suddenly you would like to access this variable named TEXT, which is not defined yet, which is not, obviously the first variable is text with S. So if you like to access this variable, you need to mention the variable name with the exact spelling. Meaning that if you like to access, when you echo text, which not the same as the first variable as defined in line 5, so you got something like this, undefined variable text. Because the second variable is not defined yet, or we can say that it's not declared. Okay, it's not declared. Undefined is similar to undeclared. You don't declare, and then suddenly you would like to access, because text is by right is null. Okay, this second variable name is considered null or undefined or undeclared. So meaning that you are trying to access a different variable. Okay, the one that contains the salam all is inside text with S, ended by S. So you need to change echo TEXT as with S. That's why you got some error in line 6, telling that you are not, the variable is not defined yet. So that's merely a pop quiz lah. Okay, merely a pop quiz. We will be having another pop quiz session. So it's better for you to have your name properly spelled. Okay, inside the media social. Okay, whether it is FB or Instagram. So use a proper name so that we can easily detect you. Okay. So we will be having another pop quiz session next week. Very similar approach. Maybe next time I will be doing it in YouTube later. So this is what we call as comparison operator. Comparison operator. Very similar to the one available in Java. Okay, very similar. This operator means equals. Okay, this operator means equal. So let's say you have this variable named num. Okay, this variable num. So let's say the content of this variable is 10. So let's say 10. So This is a statement, or we call it comparison statement, which resulting in Boolean value. Boolean value is true or false. So either the statement true or either the statement is false. So num1 is variable, is a variable. We don't sure what the content of the variable, but somehow or other you can simply compare the value inside num1, inside the variable, with, let's say, a literal value. So by doing this, by providing this equal symbol, okay, let's say I would like to translate into human language. Okay, is the variable num contain 100? Is the variable num contain 100? So if the content, oh sorry, if the content or the value of this particular variable is 100, then the statement will provide true. So let's say the actual value of num is, let's say, 10. So is 10 equals to 100? Okay, you can ask that particular question. Is 10, okay, equals to 100? So if by right 10 is not equal to 100, by 10 is not equal to 100, that's obvious, huh? Yeah, that's obvious. 10 is smaller than 100. So if num, if the variable num, the value is 10, so if you compare 10 with 100, obviously it's not equal, it's not the same. So this expression will resulting false as the result. So that one is equal. By right, you are familiar with this Boolean variable or the comparison operator. So the second one is not equal, not equal to, not equal to, okay, not equal to, and not equal to. Not equal means if uh, the value on your left is not the same as the value in your right. Okay, this will provide true. This will resulting true. So it's inverse of equal. So basically less than is smaller than. So the left one, the value is smaller than the right one. Okay, the value is smaller. The left value is smaller than the right one. So this comparison operator normally is used in if statement or else if statement, or somehow you can find it also in for loop, okay, for loop or do while statement or while statement. So because this is some sort of evaluation. So greater than means so let's say you got mark, you got markah, mark for the subject. So if you'd like to have your grade to be A, you would like to achieve A for this subject, you need to achieve more than 80 marks. You need to achieve more than 80 marks. Then you will got grade A. So meaning that if you would like to have your grade for this subject A, then you need to make sure that your mark is more than 80. Okay, more than 80. So you need to make sure that your mark is more than 80 so that you will get grade A. Okay, so something like that. If you would like to uh, pass pass this subject, what you need to do is to make sure your mark is more than 50 or 50 and above. Okay, 50 and above. Oh, sorry, 40. 40 and above. So 40 or above, then you will pass this subject. If you got less than 40, meaning that 39, 38, 37, and less than 40, so you need to, obviously you need to repeat the subject lah. So make sure your mark is over 40. Okay, and then to get A, you need to make sure your mark is more than 80, greater than 80. So this is somehow how the system or in the what you call the student portal decide whether you got A or you got F or you got D. D is the minimal mark. D is the minimal mark, which is above 40, 40 or something. So that is how the system evaluate your mark to decide your grade, whether you got A or you got a fail. Okay, hopefully nobody fails in this subject. So that is how we do comparison. So why we learn comparison? Because there's important, yeah, something like this. Okay, there's an important usage in if statement whereby you need to have your what we call is your condition. This is the condition. Something like this. Okay, this is the condition. Okay, this is condition, something like this. So if you got F, okay, something like this. If you got F, meaning that you need to try again. Okay, you need to try again next semester or something like this. Okay, if you got grade F, then you need to try again next semester. So if is a conditional statement. If is a conditional statement. Whatever programming language, you can see that such as Java, you have this if statement. If you have one conditional statement, then you just simply use if. But somehow or other, if you, let's say you are, there's a tendency to have another condition, then you need to use else if. For instance, when you come to a junction, you see the traffic light. Okay, you see the traffic light. Okay, you see the traffic light. So your decision whether to continue your travel or to stop by the junction, you need to decide by looking at the color of the traffic light. If the color is red, obviously you need to stop at the junction. So if red, then stop. Okay, you can imagine something like that. If red, then stop. Okay, or else if you see that the light is green, meaning that you can continue your journey. You can get through the junction. There's another condition whereby if you see else, if you see the light is yellow, then it's up to you whether you want to speed up or whether to stop. Normally, you are advised to stop when the light is yellow. So that is three conditional statement. Three conditional statement whereby you see the traffic light, whether it is red or green or yellow. So that uh, provides three options. That provide three options, or we call it three selection. Okay, or three conditional statement. So if you see the light is red, then you stop. Else, if you see the light is green, then you continue. Okay. Else, if if you see the light is yellow, then maybe you can be ready to stop. So that is one obvious condition whereby you always come across with the traffic light. Okay, the traffic light. But the implementation in web programming is more on the this example will provide the insight of how you do the data validation using the if statement. So contoh ni kita tunjukkan untuk demonstrate how can we do data validation by using if statement. Why you need your data or the user data to be validated? Why? Kenapa kena validate? Because your user is unpredictable. Unpredictable. Somehow or other, let's say you also have experienced this before. When you try to log in the student portal, somehow or other, you simply enter the login button. So maybe you are in rush. Okay, you need to do the things quickly. And then you forgot to mention the username and forgot to mention the password. Simply press the login button. So what happened? Obviously, you cannot enter the system. Okay. So how can that be done? Inside the system, okay, inside the server will receive your username and password. Obviously, if the server, finds out that your username and password is not in there, not provided, obviously you cannot enter the system because the system cannot compare what is your password in the database as compared to what you provide. So obviously, when you are not validated, you will be sent back to the login page. Okay, so that's what happened. That can be achieved using if statement or if else statement or whatever it is lah. Okay, so you can also use if else statement to do some sort of simple validation. But regularly, normally, developer do the what you call the client side to do the data validation, or we call it client side scripting. Okay, it's available in jQuery or something like that. But this exercise, I will show you how to do it in the server side. Okay, how to do data validation in the server side. So let's say you have this interface with name and age, and then obviously the user will expect to click this button, and the server is expected to receive these two information. So simply what the system does, simply it will print out the username, the name, and the age. So somehow or other, if let's say the user did not enter what you call input. So maybe the input is important, so you need to notify the user that he or she is not entering the information. Okay, So it's something like maybe you see mandatory. Okay, mandatory input. Okay, something like mandatory input. Mandatory means you must key in, such as username and password. That is obviously mandatory input. So how to make sure that the user provide these two items, these two input? You need to make sure, because if you don't make sure, you will be comparing to the database with the input that is null, that is nothing. You compare with nothing. So obviously you cannot do the comparison. Okay. So for instance, okay, kita try code ini. Okay, kita try code ini, rasanya ada dalam folder mana? Hmm. Kalau boleh tolong mute kan, ada bunyi kereta semua kan. Nanti kalau dah habis explanation, kita akan buka kepada persoalan lah. Okay, so contoh login. Okay, kita ada login di sini. See, we have login. Then so let's say in this demo, we will use get lah. Okay, get. Okay, get. So let's say I would like to change this action into null, meaning that you will be sending to the same page. So you can change, you can use display .php, something like this. Okay, you can choose display.php. This will be redirected, this data will be redirected to display.php. So you have, previously you have done this, you create a username, password, okay? You have a username and password. First, then go to the web. See, so you've done this previously, whereby you have the username and the password entered. So let's say you expect this both input to be mandatory. Mandatory means obviously the user must input these two information, username and password. But somehow or other, mandatory cannot be merely just display or just on the interface. You need to make sure, okay, you need to make sure the developer need to make sure that the user key in the information. Okay, you need to make sure that the developer key in the information. So you have the username, yeah, the username as the first text box, and the second text box is password. Then you submit to display.php. So let's say I change this to get. So you can check whether the username is null or not null. So let's say if the username is null, okay, let's say the system find out that the username is null. So you can check a string by using this comparison statement, using the equal to null. Null ni macam kalau nombor dia kosong. Tapi kalau string, kita guna null. Null means you have nothing lah inside the variable. Null means nothing. Okay, kosong. Okay, kosong. Okay, empty space. Okay. So if let's say the system find out that the username is null, then it will notify lah. Okay, it will notify the user to provide your username. So this is the previous exercise. You have this previous exercise. Okay, then you just alter it ataupun edit. Okay, the display.php. Okay, display.php, alter this into add some more lines lah. Add some more lines for the checking. Okay, mandatory means nothing if you don't do the checking. Okay, everybody can do this star. Star means obviously you know that when you find a text box marked with star, this is supposed to be mandatory. But somehow or other, this is merely the interface, only the interface. So how you implement this mandatory requirement? By checking the content. So if you find out, if the developer, or sorry, if the system find out that the username is null, then you can something lah, you can do such notification. Okay. So another condition is whereby the user does not key in the password. Okay, and then you can provide this information. Okay, so else mean the username is there, the password is also inserted. Then you can, let's say you can display the dashboard or something like display the greeting. This the else is the last option, whereby when you first check the username is available, the password is available, then it will go to the last option, which is else. So if you do if, else if, and the last condition should be else. Okay, the last condition should be else. Else means that yeah, the username is available, the password is available, then you go to this last option, else. Else is the default option. So this is the second checking. You check whether the password is null or not. If let's say the system find out that the username is null, it will display this echo, do provide your username, this notification, and it will skip the rest of the comparison or the condition. It will skip. It will do this, and it will skip else if and else. So let's say the username is there, provided by the user, but the password is null. Then it will do this block. It will execute this notification. Do provide your password? Okay, and else will be skipped. Okay, you don't do else if and then later you do else. No, that's not the programming concept or if else concept. Once you do this else if, then it will skip else. If they do the first option, the first condition, and else if will be skipped, else also will be skipped. So this is a group. Okay, this is else if or if with group. So you have two conditions, if, else if, else. So you have three conditions. You have three conditions here. So let's say you have the username provided by the user and the password also provided. It will do the last condition, the last option. Okay, something like this. So you can see from the code here, it will do else. It will do the last option. But somehow, if the user forget to provide the password, something like this. So when the user click the login button, obviously you will be notified. The user will be notified. Do provide your password because you are not providing, the user not providing the password. So let's say the user does not provide the username and password. So click login, do provide your username. So because our logic is we check for the username first. If the username is not available, null, then it will do the first option. Okay. So if they found out that the username is available, but the password is null, okay, the system will print this notification. But somehow or other, if the user provide both input in the text box, click login, and then it will do the last option. So this is how if else is implemented in PHP or whatever programming language lah. It's very similar. You can see that Python also providing the same, almost the same if else function. Java is very similar to PHP. Okay, that is the what I should explain in this session. So do you have any question? You can open the mic. If you have any errors or whatsoever, just present your screen. The exercise is provided at the end of the chapter 06 in the PDF format. Okay, try to do the exercises. It's available in chapter 06 in the PDF. 06 in the PDF. Chapter 06. Okay, siapa yang baru sampai tu, submit your attendance in the KLMS. Submit you punya attendance di KLMS. Okay, so something like this. Saya ulang balik. Okay, if you prefer the one file option, provide this action, you make it null. Okay, bagi dia kosong. So by using this option, action equals to null, you will provide the data, you will send to the data to the same file, meaning that you don't have to do the second file. Okay, you don't have to do the second file. But somehow if you prefer the two files option, just make sure the second file is here. This is the second file.
So the first untuk yang bukan display punya file ni, untuk macam login form.php macam tu, kita edit kat sini je lah. Satu baris tu je kan yang kena ubah. Yang banyak-banyak tu dekat display.
Yang banyak-banyak tu, kalau katakan, so let's say you prefer a one file option. Okay, ni saya tunjuk one file option. So you remove this from action, buang ni. Then the code dalam display.php ni korang kena copy dia. And saya buat satu borang baru login gabung contohnya. Combine .php. Saya buat satu file baru, login combine.php. So I'll be combining the HTML and also the PHP. Okay. See here, this is from the page login combine. Okay, login combine. You have the form here. Okay, don't forget to make this action null, blank, and then you provide the PHP code kat bawah dia lah, below dia. Something like this. Okay, you boleh provide something like this. But mana-mana yang you prefer lah, no problem. Kalau you dah biasa gunakan two files, then use two files. Kalau you nak try, boleh lah. Mungkin ada dalam, tak pasti dalam nota ke, tak pasti.
Oh.
So let's say, you ada ni kan, you ada ni. Then, bila you lihat dia punya login combine, mana login combine? Login combine, okay, something like this. Okay, tapi awal-awal ni kau akan nampak ni lah, ada error sikit. Tapi tak apa. So let's say dia tak provide username, dia tak provide password. Klik login, dia bagi tahu kat sini, dia punya notification kat bawah dia. Do provide your username. Okay, something like this. So let's say kita buang password tapi ada username. Klik pada login. Do provide your password. So let's say dia ada username dan password. Bila kita klik login, dia akan buat. So ini one file option, one file punya konsep. Okay, you boleh buat macam ni juga.
Ustaz, untuk yang baris 25-26 tu macam mana kita nak hilangkan dia punya error? Kita kena tukar get tu jadi post ke?
25-26.
Line 25-26.
Yang tu 25-26. That one ada lagi satu ni lah. Kita boleh buat if statement.
Oh, yang saya punya, okay guys, yang saya punya bila saya paste dekat ni yang get username, get password. Error dia. Kalau kat saya dia line 25.
Oh ya, dia error kat sini lah. Sebab the first time content tu memang tak ada. Content tu memang null. Username yang password dia memang null. Sebab user tak submit lagi. First time. Okay, first time. Second time tu dia dah nampak lah. So, you just put one line macam ni. Another if statement. If kita gunakan is set. Nanti korang rujuk function is set dalam apa namanya, dalam php.net. Okay, nanti korang rujuk function is set dalam php.net/isset. So obviously when you create another if statement kat atas ni, so make sure you close the block. So you have if statement, okay, and make sure to close this block. Dia mesti ada closing dia. You have if statement, make sure to close the block. Nak close kat mana? Kat bawah. Okay, is set. So nanti you study is set function. There's is set function in PHP. You may refer to php.net/isset. So I'll provide this code inside the WhatsApp group. Okay, so that's the second code whereby you have the is set. So when you do this is set, you don't see mana tu? So the first time bila kita masuk, dah you don't see the undefined. Okay, you don't see the undefined. Okay, dah hilang dah. So refer to the code as I provided inside the WhatsApp group. Boleh copy paste and try to study php.net is set function. Let's click this function and we will go to the official statement or sorry, official documentation of PHP is set. So this is how to make sure that your variable is actually uh, just to make sure that your variable is containing something is declared. Its variable is declared. Okay. It's not null. It's set. So you can check whether your variable is declared, something like this. So any more question? Selamat Hari Raya. Maaf zahir batin. Okay.
Baik.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi
Bagus,
wabarakatuh.